All right, here we go. Today we have Dynzell Sigers, who went through 4 limb lengthening operations, costing over $80,000, which resulted in increasing his height from 5'5" to over 6 feet tall. Welcome to VladTV.
Glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Very interesting story.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting story, and I'm going to get to that, but I want to start in the very beginning. So you grew up in Southside Chicago?
I did.
Okay. Oldest of 6 kids?
Yeah, I am.
And it was a fairly crazy environment.
It was pretty tough coming up.
Right. Your house got shot up twice.
Couple times, yeah.
Right. And you actually got shot at yourself.
Couple times,
but never hit.
No. Unfortunately, I was stabbed in the face at one point in time when I was younger, but I've never been actually shot.
You've been stabbed in the face?
Yeah.
What was that about?
It's a story for another day. It was a lot going on. Just caught up in different things at that time of my life. I was back and forth between Chicago and Atlanta coming up, and just a lot of different things were going on in life, living in different environments. But yeah.
Okay, and around 12 years old, you moved to Georgia?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, with your mom?
I did.
You got to meet other siblings and so forth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, but you started getting in trouble out there?
I did, unfortunately, yes.
Okay, you got involved in some gangs, and that resulted in some juvenile time?
It did.
Over what?
Just, unfortunately, I had to get, at that time in my life, I got involved with a few different things for mainly protection, and I didn't really know another way at the time, so yeah, I was, obviously, it started off with protection and then escalated to me involving myself in other different things, that got me arrested. Some Grand Theft Auto, some, breaking in, things like that. Nothing too crazy, but definitely just was on the wrong path at that time in my life.
Now, you had a lengthy stint at one point in Juvenile. What was the longest time you did?
I don't recall the actual longest time. I just remember that one was because before I had never actually been sat down. It would be like maybe a few days, maybe a week, and then I end up going to court and getting released or whatever. And the last time I went was the last time I had ever been locked up at that time. And I told myself, like, this is the time to turn my life around because I'm obviously seeing where I'm going. Because the judge actually told me, my PO helped me out because I was on probation when I got locked up. The judge actually told me if he saw me again, I wasn't going home. So that was the point of time where I was like, okay, it's time to start trying to look in a different direction. But I knew it wasn't the place for me.
Okay. Now, you turn 18. Did you graduate high school?
I did.
Okay. And you ended up joining the Navy at one point?
I did.
Like how long after high school?
Immediately.
Immediately?
So my PO actually helped me out a lot. I told her that if she gave me a chance, because I was supposed to be on probation for some time and then there was some other things going on. I got on house arrest. It was a lot going on. So I told her if she was willing to give me a chance, I would turn my entire life around. And she told me if I could prove it to her, like stay out of trouble, get a job, all these different things, she would help me out. So I did that. I maintained a steady job. I stayed out of trouble. I separated myself from a lot of things that I was involved in. And she wrote a letter to the judge. The judge sealed my record, and then they helped me like get into the military. So I actually left for the military at 19.
Okay, so if the record wasn't sealed, would the military take you?
Not at that time, they wouldn't have, but I was blessed at that time because they ended up working with me. Like, they worked with me, they worked with my PO, and I had to get a few waivers and a few other things done because I did have felonies at that time. So, like I said, they worked with me, they worked with my PO, and they were able to get me into the military, and I just didn't look back from there.
Okay, so now you're in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a combat medic?
I am.
So were you actually in war zones?
Well, I won't really get into that, but I was deployed a few times. Yeah.
Okay, so you actually had to basically fix people up that had been shot and blown up and the whole nine?
I didn't see any, like, I didn't deal with anybody necessarily getting blown up or anything like that, but I did have some different experiences that I was exposed to while I was in.
Okay, what countries were you in?
I was a little bit of everywhere. I was a little bit of everywhere at the time because I was on a MU. So we hit UAE, Dubai, Syria, Libya.
Oh, okay.
Romania. We went a lot of different places. So
Some of those spots are serious.
yeah, some of them serious. Some of them we was just having a good time.
Yeah. Okay. Now, at one point, you leave the military.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you at the time?
26, I believe. I think like 26-ish or 25 or something like that. I think 26.
Okay. So you left the military and you were thinking about getting height surgery, but you were kind of in a dark place around that time.
Man, it was a lot going on. So it was a lot of different things going on. I took a bit of a dark turn when I got out. I fell back into old habits very fast, unexpectedly. And thought I was having fun at the time, but a little bit of fun turned into a lot of problems real fast. So yeah, I was in a dark place.
Alcohol played a role?
Man, look, it was a lot going on. I was pretty much smoking and drinking at that time in my life every day. I lost focus. I lost sight of everything that I had going on in life.
Drugs played a role as well. Hard drugs?
Nothing too crazy. No,
Okay.
Nothing too crazy.
So you grew up 5'5", and at age 16, you started to research different ways to get taller.
Yeah.
And there are different ways to do it besides surgery, and you tried some of those ways, right?
Yeah, it was nothing too crazy. Only like when I needed them, like if I was going on a date or something, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna throw in some height and so or something. Then I used to stretch and everything because I had scoliosis too. So I was already shorter than I was supposed to be because they said I was supposed to be like 5'9" or something like that.
Okay, so you put inserts in your shoes. And how much did that raise you up?
Not much, like an inch and a half, nothing crazy.
And you would decompress your spine?
Yes. So, well, that started later. That started as I got older because I started having back problems in the military.
Okay.
So that just went hand to hand. Like I said, I had scoliosis, then I had back problems in the military. So when I started using a decompression table, it would just help with my back pain. And the result was like maybe an inch of height in that same process.
And you had a spinal alignment?
Well, I had my scoliosis fixed pretty much.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So that was an operation just for
just
for the
to straighten me
scoliosis.
out. Yeah.
Okay, and there was a situation where you had a big crush on a girl.
That was overplayed. So it's funny because that's how it went viral. They used that story.
Okay.
So basically what happened is they asked, when I was doing a particular interview, this is the headline that went viral, but it was like a guy gets surgery because he got rejected by a girl for being too short. The funny thing is how that story actually worked out, like how it came about. I was asked, had I ever been rejected for being short? And I was like, well, there was one situation where this girl, I was crazy about her. I was in like 9th grade. She was in 12th grade, but she was in one of my classes. And I used to try to talk to her every day, every single day. And she would give me a little bit of time and attention, but nothing too serious. And there was this trend back when I was in high school where girls go up to guys and they tell them the reason they wouldn't date them. And her and a friend came up to me and they were just like, yeah, I'm too short and too young. And they laughed it off, I laughed it off, whatever. But she ended up giving me a chance later on when I was in like 11th grade and she was out of school. So I ended up getting her anyway. It just took me a couple years.
Did you feel like your height really played a role throughout your teens and your 20s in terms of women and so forth? Did you feel
I didn't even know I was short until that situation with her. I didn't know I had always been, because I hit my growth spurt very early. So I was the tallest, one of the taller people I knew in my peer group until like maybe 7th or 8th grade when everybody else started to shoot up. So I never really gave height thought until that girl told me, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm short. I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, I never really noticed. But when it came to dealing with women, I never really cared about my height. The only time it really, really had an impact is if like I was in a club or something, because I'm like, all right, I feel like I look like a kid in here. Like, you can't really see me. You can't really, all you see is like just this short guy. But other than that, I didn't really have like an issue talking to women or all these different things. Like I said, it really, in clubs, I would just chill to myself. That wasn't really my thing anyway. I didn't really like clubbing, but whenever I went out with friends, like, I'm like, yeah, I just chill at the bar.
Well, you've said some things about taller men. You said taller men are more confident, better with women, have an easier time in life, more successful in the workplace, and get more respect.
So that's funny, I was reciting a lot of things that people were saying while I was in the center, you know what I mean? Because originally, when I went viral, I hated the story, but my team that I was working with told me it would be best to go with the story for relatability or being able to relate to others or all these different things. And against my better judgment, I played into all of it. Like, I played into the story, I played into all these different things, and I ended up realizing that I was creating an arena where I'm basically making it seem short men are obsolete or aren't as good as everyone else. So that's when I kind of pulled back. Like, that was never the agenda I wanted to push. To me, it was most of it was a joke. Like, in a sense, like, this whole thing was pretty much fun for me. Like the surgery, the process, finding myself again, getting back on track, getting my mind back on track. It was fun.
Okay, so you start to research the whole procedure, and it's been around since the 1950s. And I guess the military used it when soldiers like got their leg blown off and needed
it came in for different uses. So the military, I used it, and then it was used for people with actual limb discrepancies, like people who actually had that were born with limb discrepancies.
One leg shorter than the other.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, because before they used to just give them that one big shoe.
Yeah, that little boot.
Yeah, exactly.
But even though it was around, a lot of people still weren't doing it because it was still a very undeveloped surgery and extremely excruciating. Like, if you've seen the devices they used to use, it's rough. It's rough.
Okay, so it started in the 1950s. Then around the 2000s, it got
became
bigger.
more cosmetic. Like, they started gearing it towards more cosmetic, opening up the door for people to do it just because.
Okay, so early 2000s starts to become cosmetic. And over the last 10 years, it started to get bigger. What made you decide to say, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger and actually do this?
So for me, one, I always hated being short. That was the one thing I didn't like about myself. I'm like, damn, if I was taller, that would be like a whole different world for me, right? I'm like, so I was always wanted to be taller. Obviously, like, if I'm putting insoles in my shoes or all these different things, I always wanted to be taller. But I'd say the biggest thing that made me pull the trigger, and I've actually kept this story mostly low-key, but the biggest thing that made me pull the trigger was I lost all self-respect for myself. Like, at that time in my life, like I said, I'm drinking, smoking every day, spending time with this girl that I was with at the time every day, sitting up, eating junk food every day. And I went from being a man in medical school, being in the military, having my own business, doing all these things for my life, having the life that I wanted, to all of a sudden just wasting my life. Like, just, that's very weak. That's weak mentality. That's a weak man. So I'm sitting there doing all this shit with her, and I'm like, And the crazy thing is, before I'd like lost respect for myself, the women around me lost respect for me. Like this woman used to like worship the ground I walk on. And then I noticed she started talking to me different. She started treating me different. And at first I didn't know what was going on. But I'm like, as I started to look in the mirror, I ain't even like the man I saw anymore. I'm just...
Okay, so now you start looking into the surgeries. Now, to do it in the U.S. is more expensive.
A lot more expensive.
$150,000 for 2 surgeries. So that's $75,000 per surgery.
Well, it was actually 75 for upper leg and then like 90 for lower leg.
Oh, so like $165,000.
Yeah. So it was definitely more expensive.
So then you start looking at other countries. And Turkey, which is like the king of all surgeries, it seems.
Yeah.
How much did that cost?
In Turkey, it only came up to a little over 80,000. Like, and that's everything I had to do. I lived over there for 6 months. Yeah, it came up to a little over 80.
Okay. So now you got to cough up $80,000. Plus, well, I guess all the living expenses is covered for 6 months. So, but you still need some money.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you're telling me you left the military, you're not really working and so forth. How'd you come up with $80,000?
Well, one, I had money backed up. Like I had plenty of money backed up. I was doing a lot. Like I was very ambitious at that time, so I had plenty of money backed up. But when I was on that other dark path, I was into some other things. I was making money in a way that I didn't approve of, but you know what I mean? I don't know what I was going through, but yeah, I was making money in a different way.
Right. So you had $80,000.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. How did you feel like actually signing the form and sending over the money? Like, all right, now I'm actually, it's one thing to think about it.
I was excited.
You're excited?
Because for me, it was like this was a whole thing. Like this wasn't just a surgery. It was I'm turning my life back around because I ended up leaving the girl I was with. I ended up letting go the women that I was dealing with because I realized they weren't the women I wanted to deal with. Like they were pulling me back, and I lost all my ambition, all these other things. And it's not on them. That's on me. That's my fault. But I was excited because I started getting in the gym. I started reading. I started turning my life around, like getting back to who I wanted to be or who the man I was building up to be in the first place. So I was excited. The surgery was just part of all this. But of course, at first, part of me like thinking it's a scam. I'm like, man, I'm finna go over here and lose all my organs, man. I'm finna go over here and be out of, man, all this money. And then I didn't even think it was real. It didn't seem like possible. It didn't make sense.
Had you talked to someone who had already done it?
Nope.
So you're going in this thing raw.
Yep.
No diddy. Because usually when it comes to these types of surgeries, people usually will seek out someone they know. Oh, you know, I got my boobs done. I got a BBL. I got my hair done. What was it like? You know, so forth. You know,
most of the people that did it like were very incognito.
Right,
like,
they're quiet about it.
Yeah, like even if you go to the company, a lot of people wanted their face covered. Like so, most of the people that's done the surgery were very incognito. They didn't want anybody to know all these different things.
Okay, so you're going into sort of an unknown process here. All right. So you put up $80,000, and you get the plane tickets to Istanbul, Turkey. You fly over there. You're 26 years old at the time.
26.
Right. You get there, and how soon after you get there does the surgery actually begin?
I got the surgery on my 27th birthday, so I flew out there on the 17th. And I got the surgery on the 21st and woke up the next day and on my birthday, like with all the devices on me and everything.
Okay. 4 days later, you go under the knife.
Right.
Explain exactly what they did to your legs.
So basically what they did it was pretty crazy actually, even to think about it. But what they did is they cut the bone in half, like horizontally, like internally. So everything's internal. They cut the bone in half. They slide a rod in through my hip, and it connects from my hip to my knee. And then they lock it in place with screws. And then there's another device that goes through my leg that's on the outside. So that device on the outside of my leg connects to the device on the inside of my leg. And basically what happens is you turn a key on the device on the outside of your leg and it separates the bone inside your, like it causes the rod to stretch out in your leg, separating the bone further and further apart.
Okay, so you're actually cranking open
Yeah.
and lengthening your leg with every turn.
Yep.
Kind of similar to what they do with like teeth, how they widen kids' teeth,
Yeah.
get them ready for braces. They put like a little bar on the back and then they kind of turn it once
Basically.
a night. Same kind of process. Okay, because I saw that happen. Okay, so the first surgery, they just cut 2 of your legs, like the upper leg or the lower leg?
Just both legs. So I just did the upper legs for the first surgery.
So they cut your upper legs in half, put the rods in, and gave you 3 inches?
4.
4 inches in your upper legs. Is there a limit?
Technically speaking, the regulation and the recommended like medical is they highly recommend not going past 3 inches. Highly recommended.
Highly recommended. You decided to highly ignore it.
I did.
And go 4 inches.
Yeah, I did. I definitely, I knew I was going to ignore it the second I heard it.
Okay, and I guess the hospital was like, all right, you want to do it, we'll do it. Did the doctor try to talk you out of it?
They had their moments, but they know they got a very early sense that I do what I want.
Okay, so you wake up the day later,
Mm-hmm.
and now you got these rods in your legs and this little machine on the side.
Right.
How painful is it? Or are you just on so many drugs at the time that you don't even know it?
Actually, they have to, like, they can't put you on drugs right away because you just came up from anesthesia. So they don't want you to flatline or your blood pressure to drop too low or anything like that. So when you first wake up, there is no pain meds. You're just kind of thugging it out. And it was excruciating, but...
Okay, hold on. Excruciating. What can you compare it to?
It's unlike anything I've ever been through, and I've been through a lot. Like I said, I've been stabbed, actually twice. I've been drowned, I've been car accidents. Like, man, I had my teeth kicked in. It's unlike anything.
And this is worse.
Yeah, definitely worse.
Okay. At one point, though, they can give you the pain meds.
Maybe about 30 minutes later.
Okay.
30 minutes to an
So you
hour
just had a
later.
really bad.
Yeah.
You have a bad like hour and a half basically until they kick in, and then you're just on them as you start the rehab.
So they, I personally don't take medication, and I'm a little bit better with pain. Like I've had a rough enough life to know I don't really care about pain. So it was rough. It was excruciating, but I did turn down a lot of the meds just because of my body. Like I had put my body through all the shit before, like told you smoking, drinking, all these other different things. So I was more so just like, I'm gonna just thug it out. Like,
I mean, were you scared that you might get addicted? Because are these like opiates?
at some point they can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So for me, I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want to deal with the constant need for them. And I just wanted to see if I could actually take it.
Okay, so you just thugged it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so now you have these upper legs that have been modified.
Mm-hmm.
How long before you start like working out and walking and so forth?
They were a bit confused because I promised myself when I first got there, like I said, this is like, I'm turning my life around. I'm getting back on the right track. I'm gonna give it 100%. I'm going as hard as I can on every single thing I do in life. I promised myself like I would be up walking the same day. And they were confused because that's exactly what I did. Like, and it was terrible. It was hard. Like, it was because my feet were completely numb at the time. Like, my body was adjusting to it. My legs were extremely swole. It was a lot going on. But I was like, I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna take at least a couple steps. And I got up and I took a couple steps,
right.
And I almost like passed out. It was so painful. But yeah, I was back at it the same day. I stayed in the hospital for 10 days, and every day I just practiced like walking, doing laps around the hospital. And then I went to the rehabilitation center and started working out the same day that I got there.
Okay, so every day you're cranking this thing and lengthening your legs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Is the bone supposed to grow and connect?
It does over a period of time. So the rod that when they remove the external fixators or the rod or the device that's outside your leg, the internal rod stays in your leg until the bone grows back into place. Because in the bone, it's already hollow. Like your bone is already hollow. So they just slide it into the place where it's already hollow. And then when they separate it, where like it's separated, the new bone grows into place. And after it goes into place, you can get the rod removed from inside your leg.
Okay, it's a 90-day process?
No, the 90-day process is lengthening. The lengthening takes 90 days.
Right.
So the overall process to where you like, it can take, some people have fast like bone recovery, some people have slow. It can take 2 years before you get the internal rod removed.
Aha, okay. So you lengthen it for 3 months, and then you got to wait for the bone to grow together and just meet itself?
Yep.
Wow. How long did it take for your bone to connect and the rods to be taken out?
My rods are actually still in, and that's only because I just haven't cared to get them taken out yet, because you can keep them forever if you want to. But I plan on getting mine taken out only because it's affecting my ability to move around officially in the gym, because I do everything. I box, I do everything. So I'm moving around pretty good, but it's definitely limiting my flexibility, because the bone actually, a lot of people don't know, the bone has a little bit of flexibility to it itself. So I plan on getting mine taken out within the next couple months.
Well, you get your first surgery in 2022. Then 2023, you get a second surgery.
Yeah. After that first 90 days, I did the second one on my lower legs, like 2 weeks after I took the rods out of my upper legs.
So 3 months after the first surgery, you get a second surgery.
Yeah.
Is this recommended, or are you going faster than you should be?
They gave me every recommendation in the book. They recommended that I wait and recover from the first one, then come back for the second one. They recommended, it's actually pretty recommended against the second one, because the lower leg or the tibia is a little bit harder to heal. It's a more difficult process, and it comes with more problems, potential problems as well.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a lot. They definitely, it's not like you can't do it, but it definitely suggested, they made a strong suggestion that I don't. But I told them the day that I got there, I was gonna do both anyway, so.
Okay, so you get the second procedure done.
Yeah.
Is this part of the same 80,000?
Yeah.
Got it. So the second surgery is done. When you wake up from that, is it pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. Painful in a different way though, because this one was painful because of all the swelling and there's more muscle and tissue on the upper leg. The lower leg has much less, like where they put the device, they put it here on the actual tibia. So it's a lot less tissue, a lot less muscle in that area, but the pain is very different. But it was the same thing. I told myself I would get up and walk, and again, I did it. I took 7 or 8 steps, almost passed out. Fortunately, this time it was someone there, because I do a lot on my own. The first time it was no one there. I was like, fuck it, whatever happened, happened. This time it was somebody there. So when I almost passed out, he was right there to get me, and I was a little bit frustrated because I couldn't make it. Like, he helped me back to the bed, the hospital bed, and I'm like, I wanted to do it by myself, but.
Right. Was
Yeah.
he looking at you like you're a crazy person?
Most people think I'm crazy, but the facility thought I was crazy the entire time I was there, because
Right.
even with the device on my legs, I was walking down the stairs, like I was just risking it. I was walking down the stairs. I wasn't using my walker or my crutches. I was just walking around with nothing. And they were surprised at it, but at the same time, they knew I was a risk, because I do what I want.
Okay, now you have, so at this point there's 2 surgeries.
Yeah.
Are there more surgeries?
There will be, I will have to, when I get the rods removed from both my upper and lower legs, that's another surgery I'll have to undergo.
So that'll be the 3rd surgery.
Yeah, if you count it, like it depends on how you count it, because technically,
Each leg is 1 surgery.
well, so how it works is you got to get the surgery to get the device put on, and then the external device is another surgery to get it taken off, but you still keep the rod in your leg. So I had,
So you got to double it, basically.
yeah, basically. So I've had 4 up to date to get them put on, taken off, then put on, taken off, and then it'll be 2 more surgeries. So taking out the rods and then taking out the rods.
Okay, and I read that altogether you spent like $107,000 counting everything.
That's what every single thing that went into this though. Like that's what every single investment every single investment I made, the things that I had to do, like so pretty much. Something like that. I don't know the exact number.
Now, being that this is not a common operation, people don't really understand all the side effects because there are
A lot.
very serious
Yeah.
side effects. And I guess a lot could happen during surgery.
Absolutely.
Bone infection, wound infection, because you actually have an open
wounds,
wound
yeah.
for 3 months. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So basically you just got this open,
They cover it with
bloody thing.
gauze, but
Yeah, but
you
if you take
basically
it off, you
because
got this-
yeah.
yeah.
What like when you look at my leg, it's like or when the device is in it, there's prawns like protruding through your leg, so it never closes until it's removed.
Now, it's possible for the bones not to heal back.
Yes, very possible.
That's one of the biggest risks.
Non-union.
Yeah. And if you lengthen too fast, there's potential for muscle and nerve damage because you're basically taking muscles
You're pulling
and
it
pulling
apart.
them apart.
So yeah, there's a potential for muscle and nerve damage.
And they also say that you could have, higher risk for arthritis later in life.
Possibly.
You didn't care about any of this.
No. I've been that way my whole life. Like whatever it is that I want to do, whatever it is that I feel like, and I've gotten like, I won't say less. I take risks. If I see something that I want, it's not too much you can say to me to like talk me out of it. That I don't know why I'm like that. It's just my mom hates it and loves it. My father hates it. But when I see something I want, it's just not too much that can be said to me. And I'm just going to end up doing it, like whatever it is.
Now, you go from 5'5" to 6 feet. How does it feel to look in the mirror after the 4th surgery and you're looking at yourself as a 6 foot tall man for the first time in your life?
It was real weird because like so oddly enough, your mind takes a while to process the fact that you're taller. So you can't actually like you'll look in the mirror, but you don't actually feel like anything changed. Like it takes a little bit of time for your mind to process it. You don't actually because you seen it in it's just like a growth spurt. You don't realize you're taller until you get around other people. So I didn't realize how tall I was until I got back out into the world and realized like I didn't feel tall, but at the same time I'm taller than most people everywhere I go. So it's
Yeah, I mean, I'm like 6'2".
Yeah.
So before the interview, you and I kind of stood side by side, and it's like, okay, we're pretty close now in height. And with me, I'm significantly taller than both of my parents, but that's because they grew up in Ukraine. I came to America when I was about 4 or 5. I think the diet I had access to here in terms of milk and vitamins and so forth just caused me to grow more than they did. I think. I have no other idea.
Yeah, I definitely think my diet played a part in it because, we struggled a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Lower income neighborhoods, you don't have access to the best food. Kids end up not being as tall. Yeah. So now you're 6 feet tall. But you have to learn how to walk again. You go crazy in the gym.
Absolutely.
I think you actually asked if there was a gym like in the studio.
I did.
There's a Planet Fitness next door.
Yeah. So I thought about like looking up a gym, but I end up just figuring it out yesterday. Like I just spent all yesterday in the gym. So
Okay, got it. How much time do you spend in the gym?
it just depends on the day. It depends between like 4 to 8, sometimes more.
4 to 8 hours.
4 to 8 hours.
This is a part-time job or a full-time job, depending on what day you go.
Just depends.
I mean, how do you support yourself if you're in the gym, essentially full-time?
Well, I have, like I said, I'm back into business now, so I have my business going on. I have a few other things going for myself, all legit. I'm all legit now.
Okay.
But I just have a few different things going on for myself at this time in my life.
Right now, like how long ago was your last operation?
Last May or June. 2023 May or June, not 2024.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
walking around, do you walk as well as you used to walk?
Pretty much. Like, the way I walk around, you wouldn't, unless I'm tired, really tired, or I've been sitting down for too long, you wouldn't even know I had surgery when I'm walking around.
Okay, not me noticing, but you yourself. Like walking 5 blocks, exactly the same as before, or a little bit different?
Nah, I'll start to feel, my legs will start to feel very tired. My legs are very heavy, mainly because of the rods and my legs get heavy.
So you actually, you're lugging around metal rods.
They get pretty heavy.
Aha. How much weight did you gain before and after? I mean, in terms of just...
When I did the surgery, so I was back on track with life. So I had put on all this weight in the gym every day, like going hard. Did the surgery. By the time from that 6 months, I was eating as much as I could, working out every day. I still lost 50 pounds.
Okay.
So I was pissed. I was pissed about that. That was probably the one downfall for me.
Like, how long did it take from the last surgery, 1.5 years ago, to start walking more or less normally?
A year.
A year.
Like, actual normal, a year and some change.
Now, what's scary though, I mean, you were talking about this a while back, is that some people don't take the rehab very seriously.
Absolutely.
And they end up never walking normally again.
That is true.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
You go in to get taller and you end up with the inability to properly walk. And you've seen this.
Absolutely.
Why do you think this happens?
Well, I already knew this would be the case. I knew this would work out like this when I saw a lot of, when I met some of the people, you know what I mean? Their mindsets was a little bit more immature. And I had a lot of maturing to do myself, a lot. But they had a very immature mindset. They didn't look at life, they looked at life as, not as serious. So a lot of people just didn't take rehab serious at all, or didn't do any rehab, which didn't make sense to me. And everybody would think I'm crazy because they're like, why do you spend so much time in the gym? I'm like, this is my ability to walk. I did something, I know it's crazy. I know. I did something crazy to myself, and no matter what happened, if I used to laugh at myself, like on days where I thought maybe I'll never walk right again, I would be so frustrated, but I would laugh because I'm like, that's your dumb ass, you did it. And I just keep pushing, like, okay, all I can do is keep going and see what happened. But a lot of people didn't have that mental forefront. They was just like, I did the surgery, cool, I'm taller.
That's it, I'm done.
That's it, I'm done. Yeah. This is, what I've learned is anything that you do is a lifestyle. Like, people in the gym will tell you, going to the gym is a lifestyle. People in their career field will tell you, this is a lifestyle. I have to gear my life around this. So that's the same, it's no different with the surgery, like recovery. When you're, something like this, the body was never meant to undergo. The body was not, this is traumatic to the body. The body's ability to recover is astonishing, it's amazing. I was a combat medic. The body can recover from some crazy shit, but it was never meant to recover from something like this. So you have to push yourself a little bit harder than you're used to. And they just didn't have that mindset. And it was unfortunate for them, but at the same time, they made the same choice I made. They signed the same paper I signed, so.
These were all men?
Men and women.
Was there women there as well?
Absolutely.
Really? Why would women get height surgery?
Most of them said something about flight attendants have to be a certain height, or modeling. That's what they said. I don't know anything about that, but most of them said.
A new job, man.
Most
crazy.
of them said flight attendants have to be a certain height, models have to be a certain height. That was the two biggest things, because it was some very pretty women there. So.
Okay, so some of the women were very attractive.
Yeah.
How about the men?
Someone was, it was different layers. It was different tiers of men there. There was some businessmen, very respectable. There was some very charismatic men, same, to them, there's just another check in the box. They just improving the quality of life, because we all know you don't need height, but height definitely help, especially in the dating field, or the height definitely helps. So you don't need it, but it's cool to have. So some of them was, they was cool, cool looking guys, charismatic businessmen, successful men, and then others were, I won't get too deep into it, but it made sense why they were there, in a sense. And I say that.
So, now you're done with your main operations. Your height is going to be your height.
Mm-hmm.
Are you considering going taller?
I was at one point in time, but I got very lucky. And I got very lucky, things kind of worked out for me. It's funny because when you stand, my proportions look fine. A lot of times though, when I'm at the gym, my arms are actually a little bit more creased because I have a pump. But when I stand straight up and my arms just hang down.
Wait, what do you mean? You have a pump?
So when I get a pump in my arms, they
pump
fold
from
up a little bit.
Okay,
so
I thought you meant actual.
Yeah. So a lot of times
yeah.
in my videos, my arms would be a little bit like this, and if you look in too hard, it'll look off. But other than that, it was fortunate because I had my arms were already too long for my height. But I told you I was supposed to be taller anyway. I just had other issues, but I got lucky. I wanted to go taller, but then I realized I was just in a dark place. I don't need any more height. I never needed this. I'm glad I did it. I love it, but I never needed this height. And I mean, it's cool. I don't really, but I did consider it at one point in time, going up to 6'3".
What changed?
I remember who I was. Like I said, when I was going through that dark time, I just forgot who I was. I lost a lot of self-respect for myself because I had put all this work into building the life that I wanted, just to go right back to the same shit that I was doing, just to go right back to it. And as my self-respect came back, I was just I realized how crazy this was, and I have no regrets. I love it. It's cool. It's dope. But as my self-respect came back, I realized how crazy this was, and I'm damn.
Well, you said that women approach you a lot more.
Definitely.
Now that you're taller.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Do you think it's the height or do you think it's the confidence?
My confidence is through the roof. I won't lie to you. It is definitely through the roof, but it's not really height. It's more so getting my mental back together, getting my mental back in order. But it does help, that I'm taller. It's cool. Women, literally do this little thing where they have to look up to me, and I love it. But I don't think it's the height at all. I think they find it attractive. Well, plenty of women have told me they find my height attractive, but I don't think that's the reason they come up to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I remember my confidence level before I became DJ Vlad and before VladTV kind of became.
It definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, I remember how nervous and insecure I was about approaching women. Now, you throw me in a party, I'll approach anybody and I'll introduce myself and I'll just assume they've heard of me. So that brings the confidence and, most times you get into a conversation with that person and, to me, I use that as a crutch, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Whereas you use your height, now that you're taller, as a way to boost your confidence. And yeah, it's an interesting type of dynamic where is it what you did to yourself or is it the confidence that comes with it?
Yeah.
Or is it just both?
Yeah.
A combination of both?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a great question.
Do you have any regrets?
Nah. I never regret anything I do. Whatever I do in life, I did it. I made the decision. And you have to accept whatever the fuck come with whatever decision you make, even if you don't know what the consequences are. I don't know is not a good enough excuse. So I accept everything that come with my life. But nah, this particular case, I love this. This was cool because it got me back in my mindset of I need to be working harder than ever. Because I had lost that for a little while. But it got me back in that mindset of I need to be focused. I need to be working to get where I want to go. I need to be accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish because I had nothing but time with this. I had to constantly focus on, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. Okay, I need to work harder on this area, this area. It was exhausting, but I needed that.
Well, if you look at sports, you take a basketball player who's 6'3", and you give him 7 inches, he's now 6'10", or maybe even 7 feet if he chooses to push it a little bit more than you did, right?
Yeah.
So you can now make 7-footers using technology.
Yeah.
Once your rods get taken out and so forth, and you're how old right now?
I'm 29.
29.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say you were a few years younger. You started when you were at 20, let's say. And it took a few years. By the time you're 23 or so, everything's removed.
Right.
Do you think that if you already had really good, like a basketball athletic ability before the operation, if after the operation you could turn into an NBA caliber 7-footer?
So,
you see what I'm saying, right?
yeah, so I get what you're saying, like as far as after like recovery and everything, after some years go by, is there potential to like get back to extreme athletic ability?
Right, because a 7-footer is a 7-footer.
Yeah.
There's not too many of them on this planet.
Right.
And a lot of them end up in the NBA, even if they're not all that great to begin with. Manute Bol was not the greatest athlete of all time, but he was a giant. He was like, 7'5" or something, or 7'7". So just having this big monster,
just makes
trying
sense.
to block,
It just makes
you can
sense
just walk over and dunk it without even really jumping at all, like Wemby. Like, does Wemby have to really jump when he dunks? Or does he just walk over and just put it in the basket?
Yeah, it just makes sense to have them in the NBA.
Because in fact, can you lengthen your arms too?
You can.
So you can lengthen your arms?
You can.
And your legs?
Yes.
Have people done this?
Yes. I was there actually. I've only seen one or two people lengthen their arms. But
so you could turn into like a cyborg, like a plastic man, like Mr. Fantastic.
If you wanted to.
With these giant arms and giant legs.
Yeah.
I think in the foreseeable future, we're going to see someone like this
in
professional sports.
Now that it's out there in the open, I do think as people warm up to it, like it is crazy. It is one of the more crazy surgeries, especially as far as cosmetics. So it's definitely looked down upon because the risk seems so much bigger. You know what I mean? But
for the arms?
No, I'm just meaning for the surgery period.
Right.
But as it becomes normal, just like everything else in life, it's looked down upon until it becomes normal over a period of time, whatever that period of time becomes. And yeah, I could definitely foresee someone actually doing this for, reasons like, oh, I want to play sports, I want to do this or do that, because I've watched with my own eyes. Like I haven't made a full recovery yet. I've made most, like I'm pretty well on my way as far as recovery. I'm back into boxing. I'm playing a little basketball here and there and everything. So I'm pretty well on my way. But I've seen others who made a full recovery, can do everything as if they never even had surgery, running, playing soccer, playing football, playing basketball, and you wouldn't think anything of it if they didn't tell you. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Well, when you have plastic surgery, you have people who enhance what they have, but then you have people that go extreme. They're not looking for realistic, they're looking for over the top.
Absolutely.
With breast surgeries.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came out and a girl with an A cup would get a C cup, maybe a D cup. Then there's some girls that say, I want a triple F. I feel like I look like a boy unless I have these things. I'm not looking for realistic, I'm looking for huge boobs. When butt injections, before BBLs became a little more mainstream, people like Nicki Minaj would go to, motels and get injections with God knows what. In fact, Cardi B, we talked about it in our interview a while back. She was a stripper. She would go to a motel. She got injected with something, doesn't know what it is. And you had these huge, unbelievable butts where it's like it just looks insane when you walk around. So you're going to have people that say, I want 12 inches.
Yeah, absolutely.
No Diddy. You see what I'm saying? Like they're going to say, oh, because, they told you that 5 inches was the recommended and you went 7. So you went an extra inch. Someone's going to say,
yeah,
you're a pussy. I'm going to go 12 inches, and I'm going to find a doctor to do that. They might not do it in Turkey. They might do it in Bosnia or something, They might do it in the DR. A lot of times these doctors who lose their medical licenses in like America, they'll go to DR and do that type of stuff. Do you see that happening?
Absolutely. It was people who were trying to do it while I was there. It just, the surgery was painful. It's painful the entire course of the time you're there. It's not like the pain just goes away. You do get the pain medication, but eventually, you know what I mean, your body adapts and you have to constantly up the dosage and they're not going to go above a certain dosage. So you have to deal with the pain. So you're going to have to be a strong individual to be like, I'm going to push it that far. But, you know what I mean, one thing I'll say about that is shit, you got to learn to really, and I've been saying this for a long time, you got to really learn to accept you, and then whatever the fuck else you do is just to add on. Like I said, I was in a dark place. But what I learned through this process is, as I learned to realign myself with my thoughts, my actions, and I like really got back to who I am mentally. I'm like, oh shit, I ain't really need this. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I went through it. But I ain't really need this shit. Like, my life was good. My life was great. Besides the excess I had going on the side, I could have let that go and then just got back on track to what I was doing with my life. And like, I had a lot of nice things. I had my house, my car, all these different things. I had a lot going on for me at that time. So life was good. But what I can say is, shit, you gotta, with situations like that, you gotta accept you before you do anything else. And then everything else is just an add-on, because you'll talk to people. I've talked to plenty of people, and you listen to them. And I don't care what nobody say. Money, looks, height, can't none of that shit. It's only Band-Aids for it's only Band-Aids for, you know, what you got going on up here and then here. So it's like, you got to get that shit right first. You got to get it right first. Otherwise, the Band-Aids can only heal the wound for so long or hold the wound for so long. So now my mindset is, I don't need anything. I don't need the money. I don't need anything, but anything that I do have or anything that I do bring into my life, it's just an add-on to who I already am as a person. No matter what, with or without it, I'm me. With or without money, with or without the chains, with or without the height, I have to always be me and be true to the fact that I'm me, because if I can't accept myself, why the fuck would anybody else?
Yeah, and it's such a serious risk, because a few weeks ago, I pulled my back, my lower back. I was just in bed on my laptop, and suddenly I had a spasm, and I couldn't get out of bed. And I finally was able to get out of bed, make it to go see a back doctor. They took x-rays, they put me on muscle relaxers and some pain pills, and I was slowly able to get back. But that was really the first time where I couldn't just get up and walk. And you're like, without walking, your quality of life plummets. You can barely do, like, it was interesting how everything suddenly seemed so unimportant at that very moment when I couldn't walk. The interview I had to do later that day, I didn't give a shit about. Paying my bills, I didn't care about. Whatever future plans I had really went out the window. I'm really trying to just walk to my car, and I'm not able to easily do it. And it was really a very frightening thought at that point. I'm like, if I get stuck like this, my life is really going to be very, very different.
It impedes, or it definitely lowers the quality of life.
And you went into this operation knowing that there is a chance that you might lose your ability to walk.
Absolutely.
And they'll say, well, we're sorry.
Yeah.
Well, you signed a contract.
There's no one I could blame but me.
You can't blame anyone. You can't get a refund. It's in Turkey anyways, as an American. And I'm sure you've signed all types of forms that say if something messes up, it's not our fault. You understand the risks. This is not a operation that's going to save your life. This is cosmetic. You're choosing to do this. So, yeah, man, you took a very big risk. Ultimately, it seems like it worked out.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see when the rods are taken out, how much better it's going to be for you. Are you looking forward to that?
I am. Actually, I'm just taking it one day at a time, though. Like, I'm a man that's very grateful for the present moment. So I don't think, like, I'm always having foresight. I'm always looking into the future, but I don't think too much into the future. I take my time. I'm grateful for where I'm at. I came a long way from where I was. This shit was hard. This recovery was hard. Like I said, I loved it because it made me push myself harder out of my comfort zone, and I grew a lot during the process. But this shit was hard. The quality of life was fucking hard. And I mean, man, something as simple as going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or taking a shower. At one point in time, like, it was so bad, I couldn't stand it. I had to sit in the shower because I had something called ballerina foot. So I couldn't, like, I would have to wiggle my walker into the bathroom and then, like, put a chair in the tub and then get in the tub and sit down and shower for a little bit. And I would just, like I said, I would just sit there and laugh because I'd be like, man, I really did this shit. And I'm like, whatever happened, happened. Whatever the end result is. But I knew for a fact, I was like, I'm gonna get this shit 100%. And whatever happens, happens. But I'm gonna give it 100%.
Well, Denzel, appreciate you coming in, man. Very interesting story. And height is one of those things that's always intrinsic in men, you know, because of the way society is built, with the way women perceive men based on their height and how society perceives them. I can understand how it creates insecurity. And I think this is a story about insecurity and the lengths people will take in order to address it. Mm-hmm. And I just appreciate your honesty in coming in and doing this, because I think a lot of men are going through, you know, what you went through and are considering this, and they just don't have anyone to really compare it to. And to see someone like yourself, who luckily took it seriously. You know, the fact that you were telling me you were in the gym 4 to 8 hours, 4 to 8 hours a day, was like, okay, this is a different kind of guy here. This is someone who has a focus that's different from a normal human being.
That's what everything I do in life, every single thing I do. That's why I was so disappointed when I lost that focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just to, call on that point you said, I definitely, man, like that was one point that hit me. Like I said, I was seeing a couple different women before I did this, but it was one in particular. She was the girl I was spending a lot of my time with, just bullshitting, like doing bullshit. Mm-hmm. She said that to me one time. She said, because we would go out places, I was into different things, so we would be in different, areas. And she made a comment. She was like, my mind, she was like, I know who you are, I know how you are, but my mind like just be like, how could this short guy protect me? And I was like, the fuck? I was like, you know how I get, like, what you mean? How could you even think that? But that shit had me blue, because I was like, I've never heard that before, but I wonder how many other people thought that. And I'm like, you know what I'm capable of, so. Man, it was definitely like, damn.
Well, what's interesting is that when I just go through my mental Rolodex, some of the most dangerous people I've come across are short. Jimmy Henchman, you hear the stories about Jay Prince. Like, these are not tall men.
I was very confused when she said that.
Lil Daryl, who's the crack king of Oakland. A lot of these guys are relatively short.
Yeah.
But they compensate by, well, in their case, being more violent than the average person.
I had that little hiccup when I was younger too. I was very, very violent, very prone to violence, which got me in a lot of trouble too. I don't know exactly what it was, but it could have been something to prove. I'm not really sure, but that was definitely something I had to work through. I had to work through my anger, work through like being just overly aggressive for no reason.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but 50 Cent named himself after a Brooklyn gangster named 50 Cent, who was 5'2".
Nah, that's news to me.
Well, would shoot you.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. And rob you. But he was small. He was 5'2", shorter than you.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, you see this a lot. But appreciate you coming in, man, sharing your story. I think it's inspirational, and I think it's very different. And the fact that you didn't just sit around and wallow in your grief and say, why was I born a certain type of way and so forth. You're like, all right, I'm going to use technology and money to get around this and to take my future into my own hands, which I think is dope. All the most successful people I know are like that in their own way. I think you've done that, and congratulations, and welcome to the 6 Foot Club. I've been in this club for most of my life. It's pretty good. I'm not complaining.
It comes with its benefits.
It comes with its benefits.
I will not lie. It comes with a lot of benefits. I'll give you that.
Yep, that's what it is. Peace.